All right. Delighted I'm not last. I'm not between you and beer after all. I thought it was going to be between you and beer. I guess kind of this a fairly simplistic sort of presentation. It's always difficult. I don't know, kind of, we have a lot of experienced JavaScript programmers, but we also kind of, I think, should cater for newer JavaScript programmers. So, but let us know if this is all too simple for everybody. Let us know, and maybe we won't do beginner stuff again. So, without further ado, you know, you won't do virtual reality if you don't understand this. Let's talk about this. So, anyone kind of from a classical background of kind of Java, C#, kind of prior to JavaScript? There's a few. Generally, I find kind of that you know, I come from that background as well, and generally I find that this is more difficult for people who come from statically typed languages than from people who come from dynamic languages. So, you know, in Java, this doesn't do an awful lot, or in C#. I mean, it's really only used for unhiding variables. So this is kind of typically what you would use it for in Java. I mean, there is a use kind of around constructors as well, I suppose. But this is generally the way that you would use it, is just to unhide a local variable if you've got formal parameters with the same name as some of your members. So if we look at JavaScript, so the temptation in JavaScript when you're familiar with Java is to write something that looks like this. And you will immediately find a problem because, and it's all to do with binding. In static languages, binding is implicit and occurs at compile time. In JavaScript, you get this concept of late binding. So what happens when we execute a piece of code like this is that we'll get a reference error because it can't find first name. So we actually have to be quite explicit about what it looks like. So this is actually what we need in the code. We need to be explicit about this. So this one will do kind of what you expected it to do. But the problems, unfortunately, don't end there. And this is kind of one of the areas that I find people make a lot of mistakes in, particularly people who've come from Java or C# backgrounds. So if we actually, so in JavaScript we've got first-class functions, so we can actually assign functions to variables. And if we assign a function to a variable in JavaScript, what we get is a reference. And the reference is only to the particular function. So even though the function, we've created that function, we believe, within the scope of the particular object that we created, in actual fact, we don't create any reference to the object when we do an assignment like this. We just create a reference to the function itself. So when we execute this, we'll actually get my name is undefined. And it's undefined because the scope at which we've done that assignment is in the global scope, and we're not within that object. So, and just to illustrate that, if we set a global variable called first name, let's say to Mary, and we executed this, and you can execute any of these snippets of code within the console, and they will all execute. I did try them. You'll get my name is Mary because it sees Mary in the global scope. So one of the things that that helps us a little bit in JavaScript is we have call and apply. And call and apply allow us to explicitly set the this. So we can actually call a function, but passing in an explicit this. So they're exactly, functionally they're exactly the same, except apply you pass in the arguments in an array so you can create it dynamically. Call, you pass in the objects as parameters. But they do exactly the same thing. But the interesting thing is that it explicitly sets the this value. So just to take an example, if we go back to our example here again, if we set a variable, or if we create an object here called Jack, and we put a parameter in it called first name, we can do sorry, that is a mistake. That should be a John.call, but we can do a call. No, sorry, it's right, sorry. So we can do a call, and we can pass in the object that we want to be the this, which is Jack. That'll go in, and yes, that will display, hi, my name is Jack. One of the things that we have as well, which we can use, is bind. Now, bind is actually something that was only introduced formally into JavaScript in ES5. So you will find this in ES5, but a lot of the frameworks supported some kind of bind. So if you used prototype, for example, you would have already had this type of function in prototype, but in ES5 you can use it directly in JavaScript. So what this does is it creates a new function, and the new function has the same body as the existing function, but we've given it an explicit this. So again, kind of an example, we can create a bound function which we bind to the object John, and then we can call the bound function, and as expected, we get the my name is John. How are we doing time-wise? We're done. Okay, I didn't even get to that, but so one of the ways which you can try and get out of this is with something like bind. But the other way that you can often get around these type of issues is using closures, and closures is where we start to use that, because within JavaScript, a closure means that that a function that you declare within another function can access the scope of that original function as it was at the time that the first function was called. That sounds really confusing. But yeah, if you want to talk about, maybe we can do another lightning talk just about that, but I'll finish there. Thank you.